Now, Norma Gigaba's case has been postponed to the 23rd of October. Now, she appeared in the Pretoria Magistrates Court this morning, accused of malicious damage to property and criminal injuria. Her estranged husband, that's former Cabinet Minister Malusi Gigaba, opened this case against her. Now, for the latest on the story, let's go live to eNCA Slindelo Masikane. She's at court. Sli, a very good morning. So what's happened this morning?
Well, you've had a very brief appearance here in the Pretoria Magistrates Court. Norma Gigaba, as well as her lawyer, have actually just left the courthouse a few moments ago. And what we heard from court today is that the matter is being remanded to the 23rd of October, and that is for further investigations, as well as the pending matter in the High Court. Her lawyers have made an application to the High Court to declare this case invalid as well as unconstitutional, especially with regards to her arrest and the involvement of the Hawks. The postponement is also to allow her lawyers to be furnished with documents from her docket that they still have not received.
All right. Any sign of the former Cabinet Minister at court today?
Not at all, Yveka. Norma Gigaba was here with her lawyer, Victor Nkwashu. I had a brief moment to speak to her earlier on, where she does seem very calm, very confident in her defense, because in her application to the High Court, she says the involvement in the Hawks was a form of intimidation, a form of bullying, and that, this all was orchestrated essentially to obtain her devices illegally, and that some information from her devices has been downloaded illegally as well. But she was here alone. She does seem very calm. She seems quite confident that her case will essentially move in her favor. And we await the 23rd of October for her to appear once again here in the Magistrates Court. But we're also awaiting a date for her matter to be heard in the High Court as well.
All right. Well, in all this time, between the last appearance or when the story first came to light, Sli, and now, have we had any more clues, any more idea as to what exactly happened here? What's actually going on?
Well, in her application to the High Court, Chiveka, she goes into great detail to the circumstances around her arrest, how she was arrested, how her husband actually lied to her, saying that he was only merely going to the police station to lay a claim, to open a case so that they'd be able to claim from insurance for the damages to the Mercedes G-Wagon. She goes into great detail to say that her husband led her to believe that he had actually dropped the charges and that it was a mistake, and that the manner in which she was arrested was just very precarious. We know that from those papers, the officers that arrested her are Hawks officials from Mpumalanga and not even from Gauteng itself. So a lot of questions being raised around why Norma Gigaba is being taken to court by her husband. In fact, in her papers, she says that her actions and the confession that was actually obtained by the police is also illegal, but that her actions in that confession, where she says that she damaged the Mercedes G-Wagon, actually just amount to extreme provocation because of her husband, who's a serial philanderer. So what we know is that this certainly seems like a domestic issue. And what's also interesting, Yveka, is that when the case first started, Norma Gigaba was facing 3 charges. That was crimen injuria, malicious damage to property, as well as assault. But then when she appeared in court for the first time at the Hatfield Magistrates Court, the assault charge was also dropped, and so that also raised even more questions around why then the involvement of the Hawks. And when we spoke to the Hawks, they said, quote, there was more to the story. So I think as time goes on, we certainly will be getting more details, and more light will be shed on this particular case.
And just very quickly, one for the gossip section of the story, I suppose, Lee, do we know what's the status of this couple at the moment?
Not at this stage. Yuveka, all my attempts to just try to get a sense from Norma Gigaba on how she's doing or where she's at, I've just hit a brick wall. Her lawyers have advised her not to speak to the media, just so as to not jeopardize her case in this matter. But what we do know from her court papers is that she's certainly still living with her husband in their residential area here in Pretoria. But what the status of that marriage is right now is still quite unclear. But what we do know from social media is that Norma Gigaba, who legally is still Norma Gigaba, it has now adopted her maiden name and is going by Norma Mngoma.
All right, thanks very much for that, Slindelo Masikane there. She'll keep us updated on that story.